Something about this home hit different. From the moment I stepped in, it felt bigger, smarter, and more intentional than almost anything I've toured this year, and that's saying a lot. But what surprised me? You'll see it upstairs. And if you're thinking about building or relocating in Central Texas, this is the one you need to see all the way through. Let's go. We're stepping into the Stanley floor plan by Highland Homes, located in beautiful Lariat community in Liberty Hill, Texas. And I can confidently say this one has a few surprises that most people won't see coming. With over 3,470 square feet, this home includes 4 bedrooms, 3.5 bathrooms, a 3-car tandem garage, a large upstairs game room, and a dedicated meeting room, all laid out in a way that just works. Built on a wide 70-foot wide lot, this kind of layout gives you space to live, entertain, and relax without compromise. And I'm Ryan Schwartz, your guide to Austin living and relocation, broker associate, husband, and proud dad to twin boys. A few years ago, I committed to changing my life completely, losing over 85 pounds and rebuilding a future that's focused on passion, growth, and helping others do the same. And whether you're relocating, building your dream home, or moving up to something that fits your next chapter, I'm here to help you get it done right. And if you enjoyed this tour so far, a quick like really helps support the channel. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a new tour. And while you're watching, drop a comment below. What are you hoping to see in this one? A jaw-dropping kitchen, a private office, that perfect upstairs layout? I read every comment, and your feedback helps shape which builders and communities I cover next. And if you're thinking about making a move, you could call, text, or email me anytime. My info is in the description below. And I'd love to help you make your next move a smart and confident one. The Lariat community offers a lifestyle that's as impressive as the homes. Think over 400 acres of green space, a resort-style pool, miles of trails, a top-rated Liberty Hill ISD schools. And if you're looking for space, amenities, and the feel of a true neighborhood, this one is one to keep on your radar. So let's head inside and take a closer look at what makes the Stanley one of the most smartest, most livable floor plans Highland Homes has to ever build. Enjoy the tour and let me know in the comments what caught your eye. And what did you think of the Stanley floor plan? With its wide open layout, upstairs flex space, and thoughtful Highland Homes design touches throughout, this home is built for the way families actually live. And whether you're relocating, building new construction, or selling your current home, I'd love to help you guide through your next move with clarity and confidence. You could call, text, or email me anytime. My contact info is always in the description below. And don't forget to download your free Ultimate Relocation Guide to Austin and surrounding areas. It's packed with tips, school info, community insights, and everything you'll need to plan your move smartly. And if this tour was helpful, give it a quick like. It really helps the channel grow. And subscribe and tap the bell so you don't miss the incredible homes and communities we have coming all year long. And drop a comment and let me know what feature stood out to you the most in this home. Or tell me what community or builder you'd like for me to tour next. I read every single comment and use your feedback to shape future videos. And I'm Ryan Schwartz, your guide to Austin living and relocation, broker associate, husband, and proud father to twin boys. And after losing 85 pounds and rebuilding a better version of myself, I've made it my mission to help others find transformations too, starting with where you live. And remember, stay humble, stay hungry, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.